All right, so this is literally just gonna be me triaging some arrows. My wife is out with a girlfriend tonight, and my kiddos are asleep, and so I was gonna be fixing some arrows for a couple more videos coming up, and so I just figured might as well try and go live and see if anyone's gonna be around or on. So if you guys are here, welcome. Have any questions or anything, feel free to chat, because really I've done this once before on YouTube. It's not something I normally do, nor I'm like super comfortable with. So it's a bit of an awkward thing, but I figure it's a fun way to chat with people if they want to chat, just kind of in between videos and everything like that, because I'm definitely working to try and do like maybe more once a week longer form videos so I can take more time, make them more enjoyable and more thematic and cinematic for all the big tests coming up. So I'm pretty excited because I just got 5 new arrows from Bishop Archery, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with what Bishop Archery is. They make basically what's considered the strongest arrows in the world for modern type arrows, and so they put me in contact when I got that 100-pound compound from APA Archery. They sent me one of his arrows and it did fantastic. And he reached out to me after the video because I broke it, and he was like, "Hey, would you be interested in getting a few more to do a couple more tests?" So part 2 is coming very soon with the 100-pound compound. It's so funny that Todd released that video with Joe and the 103 like 4 days after that. I was like, "How dare you?" But basically, it was just like it was just like I actually talked to Joe afterwards because he actually sent me the link for the video. Once it went live, I was like, "You can't be serious, man." And I guess technically they had been working on it for like 4 months, to try to get there. So it had been in the works for a while. And so they weren't like, obviously it wasn't like an idea thief, because Todd obviously is a much better creator than I. He's got a lot more ideas and a lot more things, but it was just really funny how that lined up. But all that being said, I have part 2 coming up soon, and I have 5 more arrows with a couple different heads and the 100-pound compound bow. So I'm like super excited to see how that goes, because last time I did that test, I ran out for a while. I ran out after I finished it, and so I'm super excited to see. I have like 7 more things I wanted to test with that versus it, and that'd be cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been super fun to try to find like a channel voice or just be more of myself, I guess, because it's just been me out there. It's literally just me and like a $10 tripod, so trying to keep it enjoyable and fun, and creating characters and stuff like that has just made it a lot more fun to keep making the videos, because I think that it adds an element that's fun for me to think about and enjoy, because you can only get out there and like shoot so many things with an arrow, or throw rocks at so many different armor types before it gets really repetitive. So it's been fun to try to create a little bit more of like an individual flavor, I guess I would say. And I'm really excited though, because some of these I'm fixing right now were actually 2 that I had found because I was repairing the hay bale. As I was out there, when I took it down, there were 2 arrows that were like buried deep in the hay bale that I used, because I was switching it up as the rain was coming. And so it's always rewarding to find some arrows. So those broadheads were great to find, because I got a couple more bodkins in there and quite a few more tips. Arrow shafts along with the fletching and the hobbyist grade. You know what? I don't know. I'm sure you can for lighter arrows. With the heavier duty ones, everything, you got to make sure they're spined correctly. So it's like getting the and tuning. Yeah, no, it's so fun to throw rocks. Honestly, that's just my favorite thing. But the rocks is the one thing that's hard about the rocks, I feel like. And I feel like with the rocks, it's just like the sling. It doesn't always look as good when it hits certain things, because the arrows, the things I like about the bodkin tips, especially, like almost anything you hit, it's gonna be dramatic one way or another. It's going to be like either the shaft of the arrow is going to explode, or it's going to break, or something's going to happen. But I feel like with the sling, sometimes if you hit like a steel shield or steel armor, and it doesn't really dent, it just kind of dings off. And so those ones, I really try to scale it to a point where it's going to be interesting. Like when I did the Lenothorax with the lead shot, that was really cool to see from like a historical point of view. But the results didn't look that great because it's a cloth, right? Even if even if it hits it, it's not gonna do a lot. So a lot of people gave me the really good idea of getting like a molding clay behind it, so I could kind of test that. So I think the next thing I'm doing is I'm gonna try and make some clay shot for the sling, because that was really common, and there's a lot of good ones out there. So you just need like some pottery clay and like a kiln or kiln. Sorry, I say things wrong all the time. I'm gonna have to get used to that. And so I'm gonna try and make some of those, and you can make the whistling shot with those pretty easily, and that'd be really cool because you can shape it a lot better than just like drilling into lead. You could kind of create a much more unique pitch and customize it a little bit more. So I think that's going to be really fun to try. That would be the next step. Maybe I'll go into the build process as well if I can, meet up with someone who's like a pottery maker or something like that. But again, that's all conducive on time. I have very little, very little time in a week to actually make content. So it's definitely kind of like been more of just trying to create something that's enjoyable to watch, but also space it out with real life work and kids and family and everything. So, I think that there's a happy medium right now as far as, like the one video a week. I think for a while I was trying to push out more, and it takes a lot in like my, own crappy little editing and everything. So it's just trying to find that little fun spot where we can kind of get it in there and I can make something enjoyable to watch, but also that's fun to do. It doesn't feel like I'm like hustling to do it. But the whistling rock would be, yeah. So the whistling lead was cool, but I think that unfortunately, just I don't have the best equipment. It's just like full disclosure, just between me, you, and anyone else who's watching or watches this. It's I use an iPhone for all of it. I'm sure it's probably painfully noticeable for a lot of people, I think. But it's all just like very low budget. So I had the only thing I've actually spent money on is like the mics, because I noticed that was different. But those are definitely good to like pick up voices, but not background noise. So when I had the lead out there, I couldn't really get it. So I think I need a more specific sound thing to pick it up, because when I would do it, I could hear it really well, but it wasn't coming over exceptionally well. And so that's something I'd want to try and figure out as well before I revisit the whistling lead shot with the clay. I think that'd be really cool to try and get tuned in a little more and get that background noise out, because it's the country, so it picks up all the bugs, all the wildlife, all the sounds that are always there. There's always noise going on, and so trying to get that taken out and also make it. And then of course sometimes there's kids yelling in the background too, which is always fun, but I don't think everyone likes it. I think it makes me laugh, but I think for a lot of people it's like, oh my gosh, I can't hear anything over those kids screaming in the background. But I think that's the funniest part for me, is just them yelling in the background when I'm trying to edit it. I'm like, these kids are insane, just little balls of madness. So this is so I got a few tips that I'm working on as well. And again, I don't know how well you can see, this is poor lighting, but I had the more standard tapered bodkin here, and then this one here is heavier. This is probably like a 650 grain, 700 grain one, so it's not as tapered as this one here, but it's got a little more mass to it as well. And so it's something that I definitely think is always fun to have those small variations in the arrow type, to kind of see how we can, get the different results and the different things. And for the, just to kind of keep conversation going between myself and whoever's here as well. Sorry, I'm bad at this. But for the next test I'm doing with the 100-pound compound and the new Bishop arrows, what I didn't get to do last time was I didn't get to do just like a 16 gauge shield. So like a 16 gauge steel shield, I think would look great. I'll probably bring it out. I've done those testings in the past as well with the war bows, but I think I'm going to bring those out with that, and then bring the compound out against it as well. I have the hardened steel from the Creedom. I have the Bizep, which is 1 millimeter, C60 hardened steel, which I think will be a really cool test. And then he sent me a knee guard, and I don't remember the name for that one exactly now, but that's 1.5 millimeters C60 hardened steel. So that's going to be like the big one to really test there. And so I'm super excited about that. I'm going to probably bring out the 14 gauge Great Helm, which really just needs to retire soon because, man, that thing is seen a lot. It doesn't even look impressive anymore, but I do think that I'll be able to get that, one side of it to where it looks good, because I think that those arrows will hit that well, and I do think that it's going to be great. Do you choose your arrow shafts of wood? Is there certain type? So for me, what I tend to usually do is I tend to use ash. I think ash for me is one of the best. It tends to hold its shape pretty well. It's durable, and it's, make sure you get the spines right. So you want the lines of it to be straight down, like not at a 45-degree angle. So you want to make sure the grain is going the right way. Oak is good because oak is heavier, denser. So it carries a little more impact, but it is heavier. It doesn't flex as much. So those tend to release a little bit slower going off of there. And so that's kind of how I do it. Whatever's modern era is going to be sick. Yeah, exactly. No, I've never hunted with the warbow, honestly. And the hunting thing for me, it would be fun one day, like as a novel thing, but it's just everything I do right now is just a very small window of time with, I have 3 kids under 3. That Olympic Games dressed as me. That would be okay. So yeah, if I ever, I mean, the one thing, so the Olympic Games or going out in public dressed up or anything, I doubt you'll ever see me do anything in a public space with any additional people around. Like I did the collaboration with Administrative Results, and that was super fun because he was totally down and totally into it. But I do not do stuff around people or outside of, my little comfort zone. Everything is just in the backyard, and even then, like I always have my car like blocking the house, because even like if my wife is like out there, it's embarrassing me to, if she sees me, I'm still super embarrassed about it. In relation to the Star Wars character, it is 100% based on Dash Rendar from Shadows of the Empire. Yes. So that was basically when I was in junior high, I read Shadows of the Empire, and I was a huge Star Wars, nerd. That was definitely one of my first loves, as far as if you go into fantasy, sci-fi. I kind of jump back and forth, like in my readings. Whenever I read, fiction, it's basically going to be sci-fi, and then I go to history, and I go back and forth. So that was the book that I read, and I just really enjoyed the character. Something about that character stuck with me, and ever since then, since 8th grade, every RPG I've ever played, especially KOTOR, Knights of the Republic, but anything, any of the Elder Scrolls game, anything, it's always been Dash Rendar has been the character name. For some reason, that character just really like stuck with me as like the coolest character. He was just such like a KOTOR is the absolute best. So it just stuck to me as just like this reluctant hero, right? I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that character and the redemptive act he had in the end. I feel like in the original, I know Harrison Ford had talked about how he wanted, possibly Han Solo to be killed off because he thought it would have been like a great movement, like a final move for the character. And I think he got kind of robbed of that, so to speak. And I think Dash Rendar kind of got to live that out in a way where he was able to make that final sacrifice from mercenary to like paragon to hero. And so that just really stuck with me, and that was the character name, and I've carried that with me ever since. And so when I created a social media channel, I wanted to try to keep it private, so to speak, just because I am generally a pretty private person anyways, and that was just the one that stuck out. And so what part of period of history is your favorite? I really go back and forth, to be honest, because I really enjoy, obviously, medieval history because of the warbow. That was when I got into it, and I read about that, like the draw weight, the English archers doing 150 pounds. That's when I was younger as well. And I was just always obsessed to see if I could match that. And so that was where that was my first challenge where I'm like, I really, really want to try and achieve that. And then later on, I read about the Balearic Slingers and I was like, I want to try to do that, you know? So it's really between like early Roman Empire and medieval because of those two weapons as far as the projectile weapons. Those are just my favorite, sling and warbow. So my favorite periods in history kind of revolve around that time in that moment. Star Wars Legends. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. And so yeah, that those are the ones, and it's mainly just because of the tools that were used during those times. It was just this really, I think, interesting time where you had simple simple weapons that took a lifetime to master that could go up against the best armor and troops of the time with just manpower. And I guess I think that's where that attraction to it is you just have that ability with what a human can create with their own power. There's no mechanized movements, no motors, no additional leverage or fancy things like that. It's like what exactly can a human produce as far as max speed, velocity, and power? And that's to me going to be a sling and a heavy bow. And so that was just kind of those are the time periods where they were like, I think at the zenith, I guess I would say. Hey, what's up, man? Thanks from Australia. I've worn a kilt. Public kilt wearing is a great way to keep feeling. I haven't done a kilt yet, you know. Um, I think I think that would be fun to do one day. Earlier on in the channel, I was like, man, if I ever do something with a great sword, it'd be really fun to bust out the kilt. And now that it's like foggy, overcast weather in the mornings, that would be really fun to try. But I haven't gone out and actually like bought a kilt or anything. But you know, that would be very fun. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing from Turkey? Thanks, I appreciate that. I've moved away from sci-fi to historical interest. Yeah, I go back and forth all the time. Um, Heard of them? Sorry, as I read this, I apologize. It's probably awkward if you're watching me try and read these comments. Oh, so Ranger's Apprentice, I have read probably a few times. That is one of my favorite. Halt is one of the best fictional archers of all time, and I think I think that is probably, if I'm looking at archers for a prototype ranger, Halt is like really the one that I look to as the coolest because again that's like the what's up, man? That's like the no bells and whistles and gimmicks. I think like Legolas and the elves, it's like they have that little bit of a cheat or a hack. Let's say they're stronger, they're faster, but Halt was like the one who was just the max amount of potential that a human can achieve. And so for me, like that was the one where I really, really enjoyed it. So I definitely played, I definitely enjoyed Ranger's Apprentice. I like Will as well, obviously. But Halt was just that perfect mix of like that grumpy curmudgeon and, just who, had a heart of gold. And so he was a character that really stuck with me, certainly. Um, and so that's the little logo thing that I made, or I had someone make for the channel, that I've been putting in videos with the arrow. It has an oak leaf on it, because the oak leaf was, the tab that the Rangers had for the Ranger's Apprentice. So that's something that's definitely been like a guiding rod as far as with how I do archery and think about it and everything like that. Because he also did a really good job of talking into yeah, Will does get better in the Royal Ranger for sure. I don't like how it started, with just dropping it in, and it's like, okay, obviously he, the character, his, one main character being killed off screen. I didn't really enjoy that as much, but I like the Royal Ranger because it did have the sling in there as well, and they did a very good job going over the sling and the power of the sling and incorporating that into the Rangers, which I thought was pretty cool because very few books focus on that. So that one's like a win-win. That's got both of them in there. But I did enjoy the Royal Ranger, just not as much as Ranger's Apprentice. That was just one that stuck out to me, and it's just like the first one I read, so it has a special place in my heart, Yeah, Ash and Oak. So yeah, they would do that where they'd have the front part of it, in like they would have it where you'd have the front part that would be oak. So it was harder, heavier, denser in the front, and then the back would be ash and then tapered down. So that wasn't actually an uncommon thing. Just to get like very specialized arrows like that is a lot, and I tend to really go through arrows pretty quickly, I would say. So for me, I have arrows that I use when I'm trying to be accurate and I'm trying to do certain things, and then there's arrows that are like the ones that are just put through the ringer in testing, and that's these ones here, which are not as great. I don't take as much time to make them as well, just enough to get them to go. So their feet per second are a little bit slower. They're a little bit heavier, but they're really tough. So I can reuse them a lot. Yeah, the Viking dudes. Yeah. What were they called? Oh no, I'm blanking here. Someone from Ranger's Apprentice, the Viking crew. What were they called? They were so funny, like the most cliche Viking characters of all. Svengal, right? I think Svengal was one of them. Oh man, I'm blanking right now. Eric, yeah, Eric's ransom. That's the one where he went to like the Arabia, so to speak, and they had to have the different cloak and different clothes and everything. That was really cool. I liked how it kind of just became Ranger's Apprentice travels the world near the end, like the Emperor of Niho. It was like the Japanese type culture. So that was really cool to see as well. Scandians, yes. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. I was blanking on that. Yes. That's it. Oh, they were fun. They were fun. Man, that was rough. What was it? The third or fourth, the second or third book where Will like got completely hooked um, on that substance, and then like he just was a shell of himself. That was a rough one because that was just like, oh man, he got tossed in the deep end there. Definitely. Still one the Archer series. Okay, slings are terrifying when it's tuned. It's very small. Yeah, yeah, definitely. So the book series is Ranger's Apprentice. So it's more of a young adult one. Don't go into it thinking Game of Thrones, but it is a great, fun read. Like I just have really fond memories of it, and I have it on audiobook now, and I have it archived. And there's just be days when I always listen to audiobooks when I do cardio, um, on the trainer. That's how I like get through the long sessions. And so there's days where it's just like, I really want to listen to Ranger's Apprentice. The guy who did the audio book of it as well did a great job with it. So I think sometimes when you read a book and then you listen to a book, it's like, oh man, I did not like how that turned out. But I think the gentleman who did it did a great job. So it's just like, it's just a great little moment where it's sometimes you just want to listen to it again and listen to books. They're a light read, but they're really fun. So I do think the earlier books, I agree. If we're on the Rangers, welcome, hey everyone, welcome to the Rangers Apprentice Book Club. That's what we've turned into here, but I love it. So yeah, no, they did a good job. So if you have time or you don't have time and you want to check it out on Audible, I mean, sorry. The narrator who did it on Audible did a really good job. So I have them all on Audible, and like I said, there'll just be days when I just really want to listen to one of them for a little bit of time, and so I'll just take it out of the archives and go from there. But don't again expect any deep thoughts or deep discussions or heady things. It's just like a great coming of age story, action story. And it really does a great job diving into the archery, into the strength required for archery, into the discipline of how long it takes to get good at it and everything. So very, very good in the fact that it spends a lot of time going through the learning process of a bow, working up to a heavier bow and a war bow. And I think Will, if I'm not mistaken, he starts with the recurve as well, which is interesting before he goes up to the heavier war bow, which as much as I love the longbow and the warbow, it is, much less efficient than a good recurve. Even with just like the one I have from MR Bows, the 135 at 28, the performance I get out of that thing versus even the heavier warbows is markedly different. It makes such a different noise when the arrow comes off, and the trajectory is just, it's a laser, man. It's crazy to me. Each time I switch from a warbow to that, it takes me quite a few shots to kind of get honed back in, because it just shoots the arrows or looses the arrows, you know, completely differently. So it's really a it's a superior weapon, certainly, but it's still, I still enjoy the aesthetic of the warbow and the longbow, just because it's just big and menacing and simple. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so the pencil sharpener is something I haven't done yet. It's just it's harder for me to find one that's like large enough for these, because it's like a half inch, and so it's definitely just like a slower thing, and I kind of enjoy it, even though this is like the least efficient way to do it. If I'm just doing arrow repairs and stuff like that, I think I enjoy the monotony of it. Just like it's kind of a cathartic thing, just to kind of get it just right over a slow period of time. Just have the quiet by myself, you know. So these are like the moments where usually if I'm doing this, I'm listening to a book, and it's just like a way for me to relax. Um, and so just simple, inefficient, you know, the most time consuming way to do it, but certainly something that I like, just kind of the quiet, I would say. So there's better ways to get the arrows fixed on, most assuredly, but this is just kind of the way I like to do it. And so, you know, it gives me a little more care as well for each arrow, because each time I lose one, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was 25 minutes of of getting everything just right, you know. But sometimes I'll start off with something just to get it going, and then when I get to the fine tune, I like to just kind of do the little adjustments at the end to make sure I can get it to sit on there just about right. Sorry if I go quiet for a minute. Sometimes I, you know. How close in grains do you get your finished arrows to weigh? I'm usually aiming for around 5 to 10. Well, the arrows themselves, they are really similar in weight. They're probably in that ballpark, but I do use a lot of different arrow heads. So that obviously throws things quite a bit as far as that goes, because I have these ones here, which are going to be quite a bit lighter. So it's got that more of a leaf type shape, and then you have the heavier duty bodkins, and those are probably about 300. Oh, sorry, those are probably about 300 grains more, just because they're so massive. So I try to shoot them in like pairs. I feel like okay, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, what's up, man? The Tome of Six, and it's fantastic. Trust me, I'm totally not biased at all. Like, oh, is that yours, Fateful Force? Hey, if you guys don't follow along, Fateful Force, we've been chatting for a little while. He sent me the Linothorax. He's a Warbow archer. Um, Great dude. Check him out. He makes really good stuff. He's a fellow archer out in Australia, and so that's one of the most fun things to me. Is just man, there's just all this stuff I've always just done, you know, on my own, I guess. Just kind of as a passion. I don't really share it out much, and this has just kind of opened up a new world of people who have super similar interests. And so it's been crazy fun, man. Like it's just, I'm so excited. Like when I get to publish a video, or I finally finish editing it, and I think that it's such a unique special thing, because it's like sharing some a cool story with friends, I guess I would say, is how I feel like my videos are. Um, and so that's just a very fun thing. And it's just, I enjoy the fact that it's just like trying to share a story with a friend, and not trying to create something that's like gonna get massive views, you know. Do you spend more on arrows or supplements? Supplements? like for this, I mean, or like the armor stuff, I don't use any supplements. I feel like if we're talking about fitness, and I don't want to talk about fitness because that's the most boring thing in the world. But I only use pre-workout. I would say that's the one thing I use in the mornings when I wake up, because I get up early and I feel like that helps me start. But I don't use anything else in that. So I would say arrows are the majority of where this spending in this channel for the passion and everything. That's where most all the funds go is in that 100%. Welcome to the Armor Smith member. And so it's really, you get your it's protein, etc. I feel like I don't use protein powder unless it's summer. So in the summer, I use protein powder because I make like protein shakes, I guess. But in the winter, I don't like it because it's cold already, you know. So I feel like, I guess that's disingenuous. I spend a lot of money on food. So I spend a lot of money on chicken, on egg whites, on produce, on perishable greens and things like that. So I actually spend a fair amount on grocery stuff, but just not miscellaneous supplements aside from pre-workout. I don't use creatine either. I used that when I was younger, but I just don't have a care for it. Like I don't feel like it makes a big difference, you know. Took it literally. Tips for improving amateur archers using recurves. Everything, nerding out again, yeah. That's it. Thanks, man. Yeah, and thanks to the person who said they like the goofy intros. I think that's become one of my favorite things. Like, because that's the only thing I actually script. I'll actually try and write that out beforehand and print it out to have like a guideline. Because it's like I don't want to change outfits like 7 times and go back and forth. So I try to do one dialogue thing the whole way and one dialogue thing the next way. So I definitely have to script those out pretty much in advance because I'm not that witty on cue, even if they are considered witty, I guess I would say. And so that's those are really fun because I think that's why I definitely think I really stopped doing majority of shorts. Is I'll still throw them out here and there, but I think they're just not fun to me because you just can't have any personality in them. It's just like action, 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 action. And so the shorts don't really allow any of that to happen. And I don't think that the people, you know, I got a lot of people who came over from the shorts. So I'm super grateful for that because they were able to find it. And that's a good tool to get things started. But I feel as if, like now that I've been doing it longer, if I'm going to take time, I want to take time and actually craft a video, like a fun story. I want to do it right, and that's why I think I'm definitely shifting, you know, all the long stuffs. Want to see, yeah, man, me too. I'm still working on it. I feel like, I don't know if you saw the one with the game that I'm helping develop. I had the 175 there, and that's getting a lot better. You know, that draw right there, but dude, it's been so long getting that one up there, and then thinking of jumping to that 200-ish is just like, oh man, it's daunting. Like every time I think I got it, I string up that 175, and it's just so humbling. It's just so savage. So I want to get there too. That's the goal, maybe in the next few years, you know, but that's keep climbing, keep working, and just keep repping them out as much as I can, for sure. So we're getting there, but still having fun just doing all this stuff right there. Powered armor, might fall out. Oh, what is it, buddy? Hold on, I think one of my kids came downstairs. What? Yeah? What you doing, bud? I'm in the garage, Henry. Sorry, I have a kid coming down. Showdown, a slinger showdown. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Hold a competition. Oh man, that'd be really cool. You know, that'd be a really fun thing to do down the way. It's just, again, it all kind of tracks into the amount of time that I can allot for something like this. But to have like a Sherwood Forest thing or something like that with slingers and archers, that would be really cool, just to get that mix and combination of people out there. I think everyone would really enjoy that, and I'd love to do it down the road, you know, but you just, like, you guys got to know, this really is a very part-time things, and so it's just, I do all the time that I can with it, but like the bigger goals and ambitions or things like that are just not something that I think you know, I can wrap my head around at this time, because now it's like, all right, tomorrow I got X and Y and Z to do, and I have the new bow to do, and I got to try and figure that out, you know, when to film it, because I got work tomorrow, and then I have the kids in schools, and so it's just juggling all that. I wish I had more time to do it all. Armor MMA, I think it's thanks, I appreciate it. Henry, I'm in the garage, buddy. So, Felon Fair can help. Yeah, Felon Fair, I'm actually doing, this is one thing that I did last year, and I'm gonna do it again this year, because they were gracious enough to, my day job is actually real estate, as boring as that is. So that is one thing that's definitely helpful, in that I don't have a 9 to 5. So every now and then in a day break, if the kids are in school, like from 9 to, you know, 10 or 10:30, sometimes I have like an hour to try and fit out a little bit of filming. But that's like when I usually do intros and things like that. And so it's like that gives me a little bit of time. But then the weekends, when most people normally have time, that's when it's like, you know, full dad mode. So that's a lot harder to try and film at that time. So it's got to be during the week, and it's got to be in those little hours of the day where the kids are at school and I don't have a lot of work. That's when all the filling, you know, all of that happens. But Deadliest Weapon, the jewel of the collection. You seem too honest to be a real estate agent. No. Yeah, no, I'm not a salesman. You know, I think that, you know, and I'll say this in all earnestness. I think that as far as people who do sales go, real estate is the most honest of the sales positions, because that's the thing that I like about it. Because I actually did, before that, and sorry, this is just my life story now, so I apologize if it's boring. I actually did accounting and finance for a medical company. That's what I went to college for. And my wife actually started with the real estate, and she just crushed it. And it's like, once we decided 7 years ago to start having kids, then it was just like, hey, you've created a great business empire. It makes more sense for me to just jump over and try to keep that book of business, which is like super businessy term, you know. And then go into there. They are 1/2-inch shafts that taper down, so they're pretty meaty. And they taper down to the back. But at the bottom there, they're definitely 1/2-inch. And as far as the deadliest weapon in the collection, I guess it really depends on what the situation is. But if I'm honest and I had to say, hey, what's up from Clovis? Oh, I got another Clovis person here, right on. And so I guess if I had to say, I think the deadliest thing that I have that's not modern, because right now, technically, the 100-pound compound bow that I'm borrowing from APA is probably one of the deadliest things. It would probably be the MR bow, the 135 at 28. It's just fast and strong, you know, and it's compact. You can carry it. It's not going to get in the way. Like, I would love, like, the 175 is a beast, and then I have the 80-ish 5-pound bow from Fairbow, and that's the one I'm working on to get to. So that's going to be really powerful, because Fairbow makes a great bow. So when I get that locked in full, it's going to be great. But at this time, I think the 135 at 28 MR recurve bow is probably the best one that I have for longer distance, and then closer distance or mid distance. Let's say sling, because that's just really devastating. You know, I like that more than the javelin or the spear, I feel like. And I mean, mine's the best weapon for some people. I don't know if it's for me. I'm more of just a smashy guy. So give me something heavy to try and pull back or smash with things, and I'll go with that. But I would say that that's probably the best one. And then as far as swords in the arsenal, the most expensive sword that I have is, where did I put it? Oh, I don't see it right now. Well, the most expensive sword I have is that Spatha from from Albion. I got that years ago, but that's definitely the sharpest, I think, and the most, powerful. None of the. But yes, yes, indeed. I feel in personality in real life, I think that I have quite a bit of Sir Gaines in me. just 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 simple to the task, to the point, not a lot of fluff, and I miss a lot of social cues and things like that. How heavy of an arrow do you need for that? So I think the thing that I kind of go by is like 10 to 15 grains per pound of draw weight. So they're going to be around 1,800 grains for that thing in order for it to function properly. And so I'd say I try to keep it, if I'm using that bow or the 175, I use just these, I use the ash arrows. I mean, they're strong enough at half inch for sure. I just use the heavier, heavier bodkin tips with that one, so it's not underweighted on there. Yeah, and I think Sir Gaines, yeah, I think there's a lot of Sir Gaines in everyone. Just just not the sharpest tool, but just earnest, very earnest in everything that they do. But it's just that is you don't know everything, but you go about it with zest and gusto, and that's kind of my motto in life. These gigantic Japanese longbows. No, I haven't. The Yumis, I think they're called Yumi. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I don't know. They're huge, but I don't know what the draw weight for those usually are. The ones that I've seen, I think a lot of those are probably quite a bit lighter, especially with the way that they draw, because it looks very slow and very fluid. And they start so high when they come down. That's like a very unique and different draw type. So I don't know how much weight you could put on that thing, or at least the modern day people, right? Obviously, the people who do it are hobbyists, and most people don't do heavy bows anyways because it's just really fatiguing and taxing on the body. It's not something that's good for. Yeah, I don't think it's a massive draw weight either, but this is something where it's like it's really physically taxing. So not a lot of people like to pursue it because it's just something that tears your body up. I think a fairly light these days is kind of a, yeah, I think so as well. But one really cool thing that I've heard historically is they didn't actually, in the day, they didn't actually use like draw weight. They didn't have pounds or anything like that. What they did was they would use it like the bow weight would be, it would see a 2-person bow or 3-person bow or a 4-person bow, and that's how many people it took to actually string the bow. So that was like a really like metal way, I feel like, to give the equate the draw weight of the bow, was it takes 2 people to string this bow, so it's gonna be a 2-person bow or something like that. And so it's interesting in that way, and you can fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And I always thought that was really cool, kind of stuck with me. But the modern ones I do very much feel like someone said it's much more of a martial performance thing. They're so rigid with the way that it's done. It almost makes me think of like a Tai Chi or just like the karate movements, where it's all about doing everything perfectly. And I know the asymmetry helps with the release, but even that's not going to be as efficient as like a good recurve, or like a Turkish bow or an Ottoman bow, where it's a horn bow. Those are going to be substantially superior in their design. I think those are probably, in the ancient world, that's going to be what the best ones were, and those are fantastic. But to get like a good horn bow, I'm pretty sure I used to talk to a bower for a while ago, and those can take up to like a year to make in the traditional way or something, which is just nuts. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's my favorite thing, is the nerd levels. If we can keep the nerd levels as high as possible, I am content with my time here, because I feel like we've done a good thing. If everyone goes home And it was like, I think that I feel a little nerdier than I did when we started this thing. I have done it. We've gone from Kotor, Star Wars Expanded Universe, to Ranger's Apprentice, to talking about bows and everything like that. So I think we're on the right track there. Yeah, no, I know that the Japanese did have horseback archery as well. I don't know how that would look. And full disclosure, I'm really not very familiar with the Eastern and Japanese style of archery. I do a Mediterranean draw on the on the horse bow, so I'm not a great like source of info for that. I just know a bit about it here just because it overlaps and I have a passion to learn about it. But Osage orangewood, no, I don't. I've heard that's a fantastic wood, and I know quite a few people who make them from there, but I don't know what the max capacity for the draw weight is on those, because I think a lot of those that I've seen aren't as heavy duty. And so when you get to the heavy duty, a lot of times if it's not just straight yew, it's got to be a hickory. A white sapwood hickory is a really common one, or you can use just hickory and have bamboo in the bamboo backing, or you can use ipe, hickory bamboo with the ipe core and things like that. So it's just a conglomerate of that. So I don't know about just a straight Osage bow, but I do know that's a good wood for a lot of the bows, and it's a common one here in the States as well. So you don't have to like try and get the stave from out and about. Grow your hair out like this length. This is much to my wife's continuous chagrin. This is by far the longest I've ever had my hair. We met and it was long, but probably like here, I think, lengthwise. This has been about, oh man, probably been 2 years, dude. 2 years since I've cut my hair. I usually cut it once a year, but I've just kind of let it roll with it. And I'm like, I'm like, hey, listen, this is kind of like a co-actor at this point, is the hair. And so that's what I'm sticking with, because I obviously like the hair. She does not care for it as much. But right now I can get a little bit more away with it because I'm like, hey, it's a paid actor. The hair is as much a part of the channel as anything else, I feel like. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Requires, yes, agreed. I can't have a sexy ranger character with short hair. It wouldn't work. It doesn't check out, Who uses more conditioner though? She does. The secret, I'm gonna shift here a bit. And the secret to, I feel, the hair is I really don't, I think you're not supposed to wash it that frequently or condition it that frequently, I've heard. So I don't actually do it a lot. So I would say she definitely uses more than I do. When I use it, I have to use quite a bit for sure, because it's a lot of hair. I don't really notice it's a lot of hair until I actually like wash it and I'm like, dude, this thing is heavy. After Siller, yeah, I think a lot of people did that. It's just like, I think that either if you got a really strict high school that didn't let you have long hair, or military, it's like once you're done, it's like, forget this. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go as much as I can. Just gonna have some fun with it and roll with it. So yeah, it's going like this. She's been on me for a little bit, but I do think I probably need to trim it soon, just for the health, because I think I have like a lot of dead ends or something. Okay, now we're shifting away. Hold on, let's get back to the nerd stuff. Is this considered nerd stuff, talking about hair? I don't know about that, but let's shift around here a little bit. Hold on. So let's see, where were we at? We were at the Osage bows. Oh, someone said zombie apocalypse. If I had to bring a weapon, which one would it be? Despite the fact that I truly love the longbows and the war bows, I think I would probably want to have the flat bow that I have. So I have that 121 at 30-pound bow, flat bow from Joe Gibbs. And he makes those flat bows as well. So we talked a while ago and he's like, dude, you need to get a flat bow. And I was like, okay, cool. So he made that for me. And the great thing about those is that they do not lose draw weight over time. They're a lot more durable and they handle like weather and things like that better than some of the recurves do. So they're easy to string. That one I can just kind of muscle it and string it up. Um, and their trajectories are better. They don't lose draw weight over time. They don't really crack as much. So that would probably be the long range one. And if I had to have like a close range one, I think someone said the mace. I feel like for zombies, I would want something like that mace, like a really heavy duty mace, because you just want to, if you hit something, you'd want to finish it. I feel like swords are cool and all, but I do not know if they're going to go through something enough. They might get stuck in a zombie or something like that. Zombie discussions are always fun. So I would want a blunt one, or maybe a single-handed Warhammer. I think would be a great one. Mine broke a while ago, but you know, I feel like that would be a good one. Single-handed Warhammer or pick would be really great for that one. What trick arrows would you use? Too much work. Yeah, I agree. I think, and they rust easily. You know, all that stuff. You possibly could, but I definitely think you would be. I think that you could definitely flail. Flail would be nice. I think flails, they scare me, man. Flails freak me out. Like, if weight was no option and you could carry it around, I would think that, like, a two-handed weapon like a halberd or a poleaxe would be great, but they're so big that you couldn't really be stealthy with it. So, you know, the mace you can definitely carry around well because it's shorter. And the Warhammer is really easy, you know, to carry also. But AR-15 hammer pick for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, if firearms are, you know, certainly a thing. The only problem with that is you're going to run out of ammo relatively quickly, I feel like. You'd really want to save that for a rainy day, you know? And so I think that the heavy-duty shotguns and things like that, shotguns or assault rifles would be, you know, great, but I would just be a little nervous I'd run out of ammo too fast. And then you just kind of have a paperweight. You can still be blunt with it and everything, but cardio. Yeah, there you go. Boar spear. Yeah, no, it would need to be something like a boar spear or some sort of poleaxe where it has some sort of flange on the side where if something gets, you know, stabbed, it's not going to keep walking up towards you, because that would be the problem, because you'd be stuck. You wouldn't be able to, you know, get it out, and then you would just be holed up. But I've always, like, one thing I thought would be so fun to see done would be, like, if you had, like, a really good, like, let's say a Macedonian phalanx, when they had the much longer spears, like the Sarissas, with, like, 15 feet. Like, I'm curious how well that could, like, if you had a truly well-trained Macedonian phalanx, how well that would decimate, like, a zombie horde. I feel like it would just be absolute carnage, because you would just have those overlapping spears, and it would just, that would be great. If you could train like 15 of your buddies to make a good phalanx, I think you would be in business right there. That would be key right there. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, I think a solid one-handed mace would be good. I would probably go, though, I still think I would probably go with a Warhammer. Something with a pick in the back of it, where you have the hammer in the front, but you can just do a quick strike. And this is such a weird conversation. Sorry. Talking about this is so odd. I think that would probably be where I would go, would be a solid, well-made. And you can get like a Warhammer that's just got like a steel shaft or a metal shaft too, because it can be a little heavier. I think I think that would be good, because you wouldn't get tired out as quick, and you could bludgeon with it, but you could also, you know, use something off as like the finishing move, just to kind of, you know, one to the brain or something like that, I guess. All right, let's see here. What do we got in nerd news? Anything new happening that's not terrible? I'm trying to think of the stuff that's coming around lately. There just hasn't been anything new that's been super exciting. Everything that I feel like I see a trailer for, whether that be a game or a TV show or a movie, has just been discouraging at this point. Yeah, the zombie treadmill. That's a good way to do it. I did see something where what was it? Henry Cavill Cavill or whatever. He did something where it was like Mass Effect, right? Isn't something coming out with Mass Effect in the near future? I think, sorry if I'm just shifting the conversation here, but I'm just trying to think of current nerd news that's going on, that's not like, you know, Dragon Age Veilguard or any of the Amazon shows that are going around. But I remember something about like the Mass Effect TV show, and I was curious if anyone had heard anything about that too. Space Marine 2 is great, yes. Yeah, it was supposed to be Warhammer, but I think I know he's been wanting to do it for a really long time. Like that's like a passion project of his, obviously. But I don't think that's been picked up necessarily. The Warhammer 2 was amazing. I beat that probably about like, it's a short game, you know, but I probably beat that. I probably beat that in like a month or so, I think, just because, you know, took a couple out an hour a day here and there. But that was super fun. I had a great time the whole time. Just feel like I got, you know, my beard got longer, my chest hair got thicker and fuller by the time I finished that game. It was just like testosterone on another level. It was fantastic. So that was a highlight gaming wise. I don't think I've played a game where I've had fun like that for quite some time. I really, you know, probably since the newest God of War. Elden Ring's like a different kind of fun where it's like a little bit of fun and then horrible and fun and horrible and amazing and then awful. But Warhammer was just like a Michael Bay movie, but with a better plot, you know, even though Warhammer is kind of like pretty simple as far as plot goes. A lot of times it gets pretty muddled the deeper you get into the lore. With all the craziness and all the different factions and the Xenos and everything, but that was a fun game, and you can really tell that they put a lot of time into it before the new. Yeah, man, Uncharted was great. I really enjoyed Uncharted. That was definitely like a movie. As far as forging my own armor, needs his last stand and a banner with it. Yes, I agree. I think that if Sir Gaines is going to go out, that's how it's going to be. Banner in the ground, just going hard. So if you're talking favorite game of all time, that's a really tough one, but I'll probably give you 5 games. I don't know if I'm going to do any particular order, but I'm going to say The Witcher 3 is in the top 5 for sure. Wild Hunt, and probably I think Blood and Wine. I mean, even though, you know, Hearts of Stone was good, but Blood and Wine to me was just the most perfect ending for a video game and a chapter of anything I've ever feel like that I've played. I think that everything about it was great. It was like a love letter to the player, you know. I do think that the next one that I'm probably going to go with, and this is just old school, and I think, you know, it doesn't hold up. There could be some nostalgia in there, but Ocarina of Time is definitely up there as well. That came out when I was in junior high or something, and I mean, that was like my first venture into something like that, and so that holds a special place in my heart. After that, the next one that comes into mind is KOTOR. So Knights of the Old Republic, you know. The second one was enjoyable, but a little bit flawed, and nothing really, spoilers, nothing like ever has like been as jaw-dropping to me as the Revan reveal was in that game. And I actually downloaded that. It's so funny because it was so like cutting edge. I actually downloaded that on my phone when I was traveling, when I did that stint in Greece. And so I actually downloaded that and played the whole thing again on the flight, and it's still great, you know. It was fantastic. The Underwater Planet, man, yeah, that was such. I mean, now playing it, it's not as bad, but I remember like just the dread and playing it, and it was just, yeah, it was spooky for sure. All right, companions though, who are your companions? Because for me, it was always Canderous. And probably Bastila, I think, just because I was so young, I had like a crush on her or something like that. But I think always candorous. He was there, even though he wasn't that great of like a character. He didn't have any force powers. I would just like listen to his war stories for hours, you know. After that, I think we're gonna go with. It's hard to pick. Like the first exposure I had to the Souls games was actually Demon Souls, back when it first came over from Japan, and everyone was still figuring out exactly what this game was exactly. And so I played that game, and I beat it, but I was like, what did I just play? It was just the weirdest, you know, like reward punishment experience, you know. And then of course Demon Souls came along, and that was nothing short of amazing. But I do feel like the most polished entry, and still probably takes the cake over all of them, is Elden Ring. I think that makes it into the 5 just because it was such a great, unique, fantastic game. Yeah, that's right. The Demon Souls, yeah, well, gosh, what was it? PlayStation 3, was it? I think. Um, that's I think what I mean. Um, and then Mains might, dude, just get it on your phone. If you haven't played Kotor, get it on your phone. Like just for the story alone, it's worth it, 100%. You know. And then I would say, okay, yeah, we'll do series, sure. And then, so I guess I would say series-wise, Witcher. You know, Witcher 2 is great. I never actually played the first Witcher. So we'll go with that. The Zelda franchise, everything obviously got better with age. You know, Archery is my favorite, but, you know, Breath of the Wild was so good too. I think it hit like a dark period there for a little while. And then keeps popping up, but I definitely feel like the original trilogy of Mass Effect was so good. Just because you know, like the Lovecraftian sci-fi is kind of my jam. I like sci-fi horror, and it had a little bit of that with the Revenant. Oh man, it's been a long time, I think. But it had a little bit of that, like, of that Lovecraftian horror with like this unknowable force that exists out there. Tears of the Kingdom, yes. Reapers, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. So that's gonna be right up there as well. So I think I might have gotten 5: Witcher, Mass Effect, Zelda, Kotor 1 and 2. Oh, and then the Souls franchise. So that's my 5 right there. I'm gonna say right there, Skyrim and Fallout and everything, I really enjoy, but I feel like for Skyrim and those, I don't feel, for me, the replayability is there, because I don't know, like I feel like the thing about the original BioWare games, I stress that greatly, is that there really was like this playthrough chance where you could get different reactions from the characters. Your companions could react to you differently, so you could have like different playthroughs in the game. Obviously there are broad story strokes that would kind of be Tolly. Oh man, I liked Ashley, man. Mass Effect Ashley, I was just like, I don't know, something about that, like the tough girl. I was a sucker for that. But it comes with the mods. Yes, I agree. I feel like the mods and the PC. I never bought a PC gaming rig, so I wouldn't say that I have that experience. But I do know the replayability is like tenfold when you start getting into that. So yeah, and Assassin's Creed, I think the only entry in Assassin's Creed I really enjoyed, I think, was Black Flag, and I think that was the least Assassin's Creedy game. And then Valhalla was cool in a way, but it was just, it felt very samey. There was a little bit of a difference, like they had some flavor and variation in some of the quests and things like that, but not like obviously in the depth of like a Witcher, where you could have each side mission was a full game in itself. It felt like, right, where there was different outcomes. You could actually fail in a way and still have the game move on. Like that was a really crazy thing in The Witcher for me when it's like you do something, and there was one or two where I'm like, I didn't save before I completed it, um, and I was just devastated, you know. Um, it was just it was rough, but yeah, I think Assassin's Creed has really, man, I don't know if any of the major AAA games have been have done, you know, everything's been like gobbled up by a lot of different things, and they just don't have a great, you know, XCOM. Oh my gosh, man, XCOM, dude. Yes, I played XCOM. I played the XCOM 2, and I got it, yeah. Oh, that game was so rough for me because I am not very good at tactical games, and then I feel like I would like end up playing. I would end up making like custom crafting all these characters, and then they get killed on like the first mission. I'm like, no, not Jeff. You know, I would name them after like people you know. I know, right? 97%. And I was just like, I would just get so devastated. I have to like start it over again. So that was hard for me because I feel like I would always start off the mission and have like a game plan, and it just goes sideways, and then your team starts dropping, and then even if they make it out, they're out for like, you know, 11 days or a few rotations, and you got to get your B team in there. I had a hard time beating that game, even on like an easier difficulty setting. So I would be willing to say I am not a good tactician. You know, yeah, that's where the Sir Gain comes in right there. It's just like run and hit real hard. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, but it's just challenging for me, definitely. And so that's the games right there. I would say those are them. Any like there's some miscellaneous outliers I feel like, because I definitely enjoyed all the God of Wars. Those are nothing short of great. You know, I played all the Gears of War with my wife because she likes video games too. You know, and so we actually played through all of those together. Um, and so that was a fun one because that has like fond memories attached to it. You know. And then another game that's great was yes. All right, man. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Faithful Force. That was fun. It's good to see you, man. Kind of talk to you indirectly for sure. For Honor, yeah, For Honor's fun. That was just hard for me to get. You know, reminds me so much of the clunkiness of Gears. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, Space Marine definitely has weight to it. When you move, when you walk, it's got like your character has mass. You feel like just a walking tank. And I love too that there's like, I love that there's no cover system, because you know it's just it's just like, who needs cover? The God King Emperor shall protect, right? I it kind of feels that way. Like if the if the God King Emperor wills it, I shall survive. So F cover. I'm out of here. Oh man. All right. Okay, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's the arrows I wanted to triage. I'm gonna go inside and get ready for bed because for me it's 9:13, which is probably about 13 minutes past my bedtime. Board game, that's tough. I think the one that I have the best memory of before I go was I had a really fun time playing Gloomhaven with some friends, because that was like fun, and I liked kind of the helpful on rails system, so you didn't need like a DN. You could just kind of get together and play the stories that they kind of presented to you. So I thought that was a fun, different thing. But everyone, take care. Have a great night. Can we see your arms, please? Okay. All right, there. Hold on. There we go. There's one. There you go. All right. Good night, everyone. How do I end this thing? Oh, this is awkward.